For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity. Drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
All right, hey Craig, I really thank you so much for taking the time and jumping on your computer with me and talking. Been really looking forward to having this chat. We've been following each other for a while on LinkedIn. It's so nice to finally connect with people and just really learn from each other and put together some content that others can also learn as well. For everybody that don't know who you are, Craig, maybe give us that 2-minute origin story that is Craig and kind of how you got started. I mean, you've been in this business, you've been a staple for a really long time, so you got some serious experience here. The people out there that don't know who you are, can you fill in the gaps there for us?
I'd be happy to do so. It's going to be 46 years this June, so that could be a couple shows. But let's see. Suffice to say that my father got in the car business in 1950. Had a used car lot. I was born in 51. I'm 67. And it was called Craig Auto Sales. And then he ran dealerships. In the mid 60s, he bought a single point Plymouth dealership in Canton, Ohio. Now, the last thing in the world I wanted to do was be in the car business. My parents got divorced. He literally was never home. They worked, for real, 70 hours a week back then, all the time. Yep. But I wasn't really good at anything. So I ended up, kind of typical dealer's son, but it was a really small dealership. So I did not, no silver spoon. I grew up on a working farm. So, started out washing cars. He fired me from that job.
Wait, you got fired from washing cars?
Yeah. The first day, within the first hour and a half of starting.
That's good old dad. There we go. That's awesome.
Yeah. So after my mother called him and said, look, we know he's a knucklehead. Just give him another shot. How hard could it be? So he put me in the parts department. 3 weeks later, he fired me again for good reason. I would have done the same thing. My mother talked to him, having me back again. Then I ended up being a service advisor at his store, which I liked, nice. Getting to talk to people and so forth. And I really did learn the quote unquote back end. I came into work one morning and they told me, the service director said, you got to go up front to the showroom. I said, why? He said, just go up front. I go up front. There's, 5, 6 suited up guys in there, really official looking. I said, what's up? Who are you guys? They said, who are you? I said, I'm the dealer's kid. They said, not anymore, you're not. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we own the dealership. And there was a couple factory guys there. So My father, unbeknownst to me, had sold the store. So I never got to really be the PhD, Papa had a dealership guy. Yeah. So I ended up, they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I've been asking since the first day I started washing cars if I could sell them. Those guys had suits on, their wives and girlfriends were hot, and they all seem to have a lot of money. So, and they got a free car. So I said, I want to be a salesman. So they said, do you have a suit? I said, yeah. Big lie. So I look like a circus clown coming to work, my hair down to my shoulders, and it was crazy. But I took to it pretty well. The training consisted of, there's the keys, cars, jumper cables. Go get them slick. You're a car salesman.
For some places that it hasn't changed. It's pretty much the same
unfortunately. Yeah, you're right, man. It's yes. It's it's very similar. Was lucky enough to apply for and get a job as a closer at a huge Chevrolet store. I'm originally from Ohio, so in an urban area in Ohio. I went from closer to, at 28, I was general manager of one of the largest single point Chevy stores in the state, actually in the zone or region at the time. Was hired away from there for a bigger opportunity closer to my home, which I took. Was recruited away from there for a very large opportunity. And then in the late 80s, I answered an ad in Automotive News. This is going longer than 2 minutes, but
no, that's okay. That's okay. I'm very interested. You got me hooked in.
I answer automotive news, travel the world, professional automotive sales trainer, 250,000 a year or more, yada, yada, yada. I said, okay, I'm in. I was divorced. I went out to Springfield, Missouri, to a place called Youngblood Automotive, now this is in 1989. They are a client of ours still today, which is a whole nother story. Wow. But back then, something that was big was we were turnaround specialists. I became partners in this company where we would go into a dealership, hire people, install and train and develop a process that increased gross profit dramatically. And we got paid 50% of whatever we increased the gross profit at the dealership for a period of 105 days.
Wow.
And then the dealership could renew if they wanted to at higher numbers. In other words, we raised the bar. They were all based on previous averages. So we're kind of competing against ourselves. It was very profitable. We were able to hook up with the Ford minority dealer program for a couple of years, which extended out those contracts. I did that that brought me out to New Jersey, where I met my future ex-wife. Did I say that right? Yeah, that's right. So, so she thought it probably was a pretty good idea for me to not travel 9 or 10 months out of the year. Probably be better for the marriage.
Sure.
Looking back on it, maybe it would have worked better the other way. But rim shot.
No,
right.
I know. We'll throw this. We'll throw the sound effects in when we do the editing.
There you go. So I took a job locally, partnered up with a big group at a large Ford store here outside of Atlantic City. Basically, it came down to, I guess I don't play well with others. So one day I came
self-aware. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. So one day I came in and one of the partners called me into his office and he had an envelope there with a check in it. And so I wasn't real happy, and I opened up the envelope and the check looked like a lot of money to me. So I said, okay, well, we'll see ya. Along the way, I had come across a gentleman from North Jersey that had developed, I'll call it a system. It was basically carpetbagging, but had the beginning of a system of how to recruit inexperienced salespeople into the automobile industry.
Nice.
So I looked into it. It was pretty much a scam. However,
the idea was good.
The basic idea was good. The potential salesperson would make some sort of financial commitment. And then that financial commitment, if hired at the end of 90 days of employment, was to be reimbursed. Well, there were no guarantees to the potential salesperson. Basically, there was no reimbursement. It was all a big lie.
Okay.
So, frankly, however, with the way the ads were written and the way the physical process played out, I heard good stories from the dealership in terms of the quantity of quality applicants and then salespeople he or she did end up with at the dealership.
So was that your aha moment?
Yeah. So I took my training materials, rewrote the process. We left the money thing in for a while. Okay. We got rid of it. You know, as the world changes, you have to adapt or die. Sure. So, we did do away with that. And so now the dealer pays, for any recruiting that we do and or training that we do for a dealer, they fully pay. The salesperson pays nothing. So 21 years ago, this past November, I went knocking on doors in New York City, which was an interesting 2 days. And I basically begged one guy to let me try it. And it was successful. He's 21 years later, he's a client.
Nice.
He referred me to another dealership, a huge store in Queens, New York. They are today still a client. They referred me to a dealer group up in Connecticut. They still are today a client.
So this really became a snowball effect then. You were onto something, and that just really what kind of took off.
Got to the point where about a year and a half into it, I said, okay, well, this is going really well. I'm busy 47 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Which 47 weeks a year on the road's pretty brutal.
Yep.
But at that point, it was like I was capped on income. It was like I could only get paid on the number of weeks I worked.
Yeah.
So I said, well, heck, I can duplicate this. And so I ended up hiring a gentleman by the name of Ernie Kasperwitz, bringing him on as a trainer. And I would take a piece of what he did every week, and I just taught him my process, and he came in as an independent contractor. Today, Ernie is my general manager, and he's a minority partner 21 years later.
Nice.
So that worked out pretty nice. And then you fast forward to today, we have 22 full and or part-time recruiter trainers, we call them, an internal office staff of 13 people. So, we've been blessed to grow over the years. 70% of our team, of those 34 people, have been with us 10 years or more, which is, I'm very proud of it.
No, you should be. I mean, that says a lot about what you guys are doing as a company to recruit that, to hold on to staff that long. So, this is a great leadway into what the topic today is going to be, really kind of recruiting practices. I mean, look, clearly you utilized your own knowledge and your own system to bring people on to stay that long. It had to start from the very beginning. I mean, you knew what you were looking for. You knew how you were going to develop out these individuals. For them to stay that long, there had a lot of effort had to go into that.
Right. Well, actually not. We just pay them more than we overpay them. No,
okay, well, there you go.
I'm only that's a joke.
So you heard it here, guys. If you really want your A team, then you just need to overpay for everyone.
That's exactly right. But there's however, of course there is. Yeah. It's like, I don't recall, and Jason, it may have happened over 20 years.
Sure.
But I literally do not recall anyone in 20 years ever coming to me asking for a raise. We're preemptive in rewarding people.
You got a process in place, right?
Right, exactly.
And I think that's a key. And I find actually this consistently, as I've spoken with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that is a consistent trait I found in companies that have been around for a long time, been successful for a long time, and have held employees for a long time. That there is a very predefined process on how these people financially move along through the business. That's so much so that it's not asked. It's just predetermined. It's like, this is where we're going to be. If we hit this is what happens. It's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. And I'm pretty sure you didn't pencil anybody along the way. Hence the reason why they also stayed with you.
That's it. Yeah. I like the way you do that. You are a car guy. Yeah. We did. Yeah. We don't pencil people. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Isn't that one of the most nastiest processes that we have in this industry?
Oh man, it is. It is brutal.
Right.
Right. It's interesting. The good old days, man, where I'd have 4 or 5 desk managers penciling deals and closers following, going out and just yelling, screaming, call the police. I mean, oh man, we could do a 3-hour, if you come down and do our podcast,
which I'm going to for sure.
I mean, literally any time, because it's long form. We can go 3 hours. We could do nothing but tell war stories, and I think that would be interesting. that some people have never heard. They don't know about.
Well, actually, it's a good point. We should actually tell people that are listening to this right now that don't understand what penciling is. So go ahead, Craig. Explain.
Please.
So penciling it's a very nasty habit that certain management had, and what happens was when you come to your commission at the end of the day, that we'd have to fill out a little pink slip or blue slips. I think for the most part, all I ever saw were pink slips, and they were done in pencil. They would hand them off, and that was what your commission was. Right. And depending on how your dealership was structured, you might receive that on a paycheck, or you'd actually take that slip to the admin office. They'd actually pay you out based on what that was. And the management, they could pencil you, meaning that if you're commission on that was $500 or $600, they could just write in $450 or $350 or, whatever they felt necessary at that point.
Right. 358.66, it's like, well, how do you, what? Right. Well, what's this $180 charge against the car? Oh, well, that's transportation and lot storage fees and $50 for my wife's dinner tonight or whatever.
Well, no, seriously, it could be, right? But actually, that actually goes into a great topic that, has been hot for a lot of my dealerships is, we keep consistently talking about pay structures and what you guys do as far as the recruitment process. I'm sure this is a very intimate space where you guys are in. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are as far as pay structures. Here's my fundamental problem I find out there is that dealerships are utilizing pay structures to fix bad operations. Do you know what I mean? So they will redo their pay structure. Like the pay structure is going to somehow force the salesperson or force management to start taking these other sets of activities, and it will clearly fix our operational problems. Have you seen some of this too?
Yes. And I think and I don't know the exact reason. Frankly, I'm guessing that we in the car business have pretty much done what someone else is doing, which came from them doing something that someone else was doing, and so on and so forth. Now, in saying that, however, our business, the automotive industry, is changing at such a pace, it's hard to catch our breath. We are artificial intelligence, we now, I've been talking about it, researching it for, 8-9 months. We hooked up with a company that has taken AI and recruiting to a whole nother level.
Sure.
That will consistently keep us in the forefront for dealers with Automax recruiting that no one else is using. Nobody's, as an example, this might be getting, I don't know, this goes down a couple layers, but Google Jobs is where you want to be right now.
Okay.
So when people are looking for a job or career, it used to be, and I'm talking 10 years ago, they'd log into Career Builder, they'd log into Monster. Now and Indeed took that business kind of away from them and killed those two companies almost.
Yeah.
Or they'd log into Indeed. Now Indeed, same situation. Now we use them, but they're getting pretty big for their britches, so they're making it harder. So 73% supposedly of people, when they're looking for a job or career, so supposedly 70% of the people will sit in front of their computer or their phone or their tablet or whatever, and they'll Google sales representative. Okay. Sure. All right. And that now, the only way that if you're the dealer, Jason, and you've posted a job, now Indeed does it automatically. ZipRecruiter does it automatically. But the rest of the job boards, most of the job boards do not. It takes very specific coding to make sure that your job's indexed from a job board to Google Jobs. So when someone does Google sales representative, your job even gets seen.
Sure.
You could pay $300, $400, $500 for a job slot somewhere. If you're not on Google Jobs based on coding, that's not going to show up unless they go specifically to the site. You follow me? Yeah. So it's so in terms of fast pace and fast changing, I mean that's what you got to do. And it's like dealers don't know this stuff, and they're not going to do it.
That's just the initial part. I mean, that's literally just to get. That's I mean,
right.
Like that is like some of the very, very, very first steps of the application. Now, let's talk a little bit about actually writing out the profile, the posting. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, look, I've read through so many, Indeed, and up here we have the TATA. So there's a lot of job postings on there. I've read through so many different job postings, and they're language-wise, they're almost identical to each other.
Right.
Like, you want to make a shitload of money.
Right.
You want it to be easy. Right. You should come and work for us. Like,
right.
But then all I hear is these dealerships complain and bitch about how they got, salespeople in here that don't actually want to work and they just want to collect paychecks. It's like, It's like the job postings aren't really in line at all with what we're actually trying to hire for. So what are some of the best practices, for dealers there for posting jobs, like language wise? What should they be using?
Right. Great question. And let me go one step further with that. I like the ads that, these are real. This still happens. Lots of traffic, top comp plan, tons of inventory. Now, to someone that's never sold cars before, is like tons of traffic. Oh man, I don't want to go there. It sounds like it'd be a hard drive to work and you can't get in the building. And what is a comp plan? I don't know what that means. Like I'm going to get comp like at the casino comp?
Exactly.
And tons of inventory. Oh boy, that sounds like that's a problem there. They have merchandise they can't get rid of. So, but it's because it's been used for 30 years.
No, it's true. The language really hasn't changed. I mean, from when I first, responded to a job posting for a salesperson to today, it hasn't changed. Hasn't changed much. So I agree with you. I think first things first, make sure that in the language itself that we're not using industry specific language. We're trying to attract people from other industries. Let's make sure we're not using industry specific language.
Absolutely. We got to think Google. All right. Mm-hmm. We got to think search. This is very similar, if not identical, to selling a car online. Mm-hmm. You've got to think how people are searching. And it starts with the title. Let me give you an example. What are some of the things that or names that car dealers give their salespeople? As an example, product specialist.
Yeah.
Right.
There's got to be a dozen. We changed it so many times. It's like
customer concierge.
Concierge. I like that one.
Right.
Or,
okay. Now,
vehicle specialist, product specialist.
Here's how.
Don't get me started with those titles, because then I think we really screwed up. We call them specialists, and then I walk in and I ask about 3 questions about the car, and they don't even know what the hell I asked about. So let's not call them specialists if they're not really. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic.
It is, and you know what? Call them anything you want to after you hire them. That's fine.
Exactly.
But if you title your ad that way, ain't nobody ever going to see that ad. Because again, here's how it works. So let me give you an example. You want to hire a salesperson, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you put in one of those fancy titles. No one's going to see it because no one's going to search that term. People tend to, the overwhelming majority of people tend to search. They use the term on how their resume is set up, and they will use sales representative. I was a sales representative for, Jason Harris's pharmaceutical company, right? So here's how specific and scientific this must be. It can't be sales rep. It has to be the root word, sales representative, singular, not plural. So even though we're probably looking for more than one, and it would only be natural to think, put an S in there, no one's going to search sales representatives. Follow me?
Sure, of course.
So the root word, singular, dash ABC Motors, then you could, if you wanted to, dash entry level, okay, as an example. Now here's another one. Here's one that's really interesting, I think, in terms of title. Automotive technicians. Mm-hmm. There's a epidemic. There's such a shortage, it's unbelievable. So here's what a dealer will do. It would only make sense on a base level without looking at the science and doing the research that if you put automotive technician, ABC Motors, A level, whatever you're looking for, or leave that blank, that you would get automotive technicians looking for the job, right? Well, here's what happens. What Google will do is they'll populate it, or Indeed, or ZipRecruiter, or any of these job boards. And what you'll get is they'll take both those words and they'll use them as 2 separate search terms. So with technician, you'll get HVAC technicians, you'll get whatever, right? I mean, technicians from every field but automotive.
Yep.
And then the automotive part of it will pull salespeople, admin staff, or whatever. So this is called the bullion principle, where you have to tie these two together, to get really serious search. So you can if you want to, you can Google the term bullion, but basically what it means is this, that you got to use a bridge. So it would be automotive and technician together, the and being the bridge.
That's what combines them together. That makes sense.
Correct. And or, believe it or not, use parentheses and just put automotive technician inside parentheses or parenthesis, well, whatever. Right. Yeah. You don't need to know how to speak English to sell cars. Just need to know math is what I've always said. So at any rate, now that will pull the exact search that you want to do. So if the only way to get technicians is not through job postings, it's through doing what's called reverse search, or like we would reverse data mine in a dealership out of our CRM for leases coming to renewal or people in an equity position. Same kind of basic theory.
Sure.
We got to search those people in our CRM. We have to search these job boards for technicians. They're not going on and they're not looking for jobs.
No.
If a tech's, if he or she is working, you have to proactively pursue them.
Of course.
And the only way to do that is to search for them. And the only way to do that is using that bullion principle that I just described. So, and the title of the ad is that's where it starts.
I think those are two great takeaways. I mean, look, it's the title of your ad, really be keyword specific with it, and then in the content of the description of your job posting, stay away from, automotive or industry specific language,
That's right.
Make it away. So I got my title, I got my non-automotive language, so now I start getting some resumes coming in, I think what it is we have to start changing the way that we're looking and way that we're hiring people, right? I mean, every dealership out there, all they want to do is hire the number one salesperson.
Right.
It's what I think it is
these glasses make me look smarter.
Cool. I got a pair too.
All right. So, you're a smart guy. You look smart. So I wanted to try to match up.
No, it looks great. I love it.
Okay. All right. We'll go.
And is that we need to start hiring for team first and training and coaching activities kind of later. It's like, I for some reason, I don't know why this happens, but I feel like at the dealership level that, we'll train them on how to sell. We'll develop out their efforts so that they can do those activities better. All right. Some dealerships will coach, not a lot, right? Coaching meaning you're getting face-to-face with individuals and working with them on a one-on-one basis and how they can perform better. But then there's a fourth element. I see very little of it, and that's the team effort.
Yeah.
It's like I have one dealership I know of, and I was just at, where the entire sales team, this took a long time for it to happen, but the entire sales team is actually a team effort. So everything gets put into one pot. And it's one team that does this. So, and you can see it in the customer's processes. When the customer comes in, it's a beautiful setup because, that individual comes in and it's not one person's responsibility. The entire dealership, the entire staff has the intent to serve every single person there. And if one person is grabbing a set of keys, the other person can talk and entertain them while they're doing that. And it just seems to be such a team effort. And I'm finding right now with the automotive sales, and look, we're hitting a plateau. We do this every 3 to 4 years, right? For the last 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, we've had some great growth and double-digit gains with a lot of manufacturers. Now we're at that plateau space. And I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see some flatter numbers. So we're going to have to start looking at how we're developing our teams. Are you beginning to see the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore with what you just said. And let me give you an example you'll be able to relate to, I'm sure. Steak and beans.
Oh God, I love steak and beans.
All right.
It's still one of my favorite things to do.
All right. But here, however, it totally collides with what you just said.
I know.
All right. So you got 20 salespeople, you divide them in half, you got 2 teams, whoever sells the most car, whatever it is, whoever sells the most, let's just make it easy. At the end of the month, these 10 guys, we all go out to dinner, have a nice time. These 10 eat steak and these 10 eat beans, right? So what does that create on the showroom floor for that 30-day period of time?
Oh, it just creates
competition.
Yeah, it creates competition.
Right. And competition creates what? You just said it. animosity.
100%.
So if you're on team A and I'm on team B and you ask me, I'm going real base level here, human psychology. If you ask me, hey, Craig, my daughter's got a dance recital tomorrow. I can't be here. I got this customer come in. Would you take care of it? Sure. You get the commission. My team gets the point.
Exactly.
And it's like, really, dude? You can't do me this solid? It's my daughter. It's her dance recital. Dude, I'm not eating beans. Ask somebody else, dude. Extreme example? I don't know, man. I'm not so sure. So I think we've created a situation.
The industry's created a culture. We have. Yeah, the industry's created a culture.
Yeah, and it's not every store. No. But there's enough.
Yes.
To where that competition internally becomes a problem. I've done it with my own company and saw, well, that's a mistake. And I saw it. I did it a couple times, and I thought, wow, this is great. These guys are going to love it. And I'm talking about some serious dough here, and it was like, and I wasn't really listening to my team.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, it was either my son, Joe, who's a director of operations of the company and a minority partner, or Ernie, my other minority partner. Somebody brought it up to me and said, look, these guys don't like this. Like, they're working against each other, man. I said, holy cow, you're right. And then, so we started changing all our thinking internally in terms of stuff like that. And now we have it based on individual effort and result. And now it's a real team. So we have.
It's amazing when people work as a team.
That's right. It changes everything. Absolutely everything.
Everything. Yeah. Just it's like it can even change the thickness of the air. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I can walk into a place and I can tell if there's a team culture or versus just literally it's like next guy up, like, this one's mine, that one's yours, this one, it's just
right.
And now I think at one point in time it worked because at one point in time we had to do more selling and less facilitating. So the industry's changed, but we haven't changed or the clients changed, the customers changed. We haven't changed with it, right? I remember, when I first started selling cars, a guy would come in and I'd have to spend, 3 hours qualifying him to what type of truck actually worked for him.
Right. That's already been done now. That's right.
Yeah. It's like customers don't come in. I had to figure out what bed size, which cab size, which transmission, which 3 different rear axle ratios. And why the hell we had 3 different rear axle ratios? I have no freaking clue. But, it's like, but I had to go through this whole process to determine what product actually worked for them.
Right,
and then I had to sell them. I had to sell them on this product versus letting them leave. But back then people were visiting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dealerships before they made a purchase. Now customers are coming in looking for stock number A76062. Where is that? And they're visiting 2 dealerships before they make a purchase.
That's right. Well, and this speaks to, I heard you on a podcast of Michael Cirillo's with the Dealer Playbook. What has it been, a couple of weeks maybe? Or?
Yeah. Went on a couple of weeks ago.
And you were talking about, and I found very interesting, personal hiring for the ability. These are my words, not yours, but what I got out of it, a person that could personally have the intellect, at least, or the ability, or has in the past, in a similar job or career, shown the ability to brand him or herself, which I found brilliant. I'd not really heard anyone put it exactly that way. So the way I take it, I think it's in our opinion, and this is anecdotal in nature.
Sure, of course.
I don't have the data to back this up, but I can assure that every dealer listening to this, that because of a lot of factors, ghosting or the way people search for jobs, careers, our culture today, our environment, the way human psychology is, whatever the case might be, and there's a million different reasons, that if your standards of what you think based on the past is going to bring you a top performing sales person, if you bring that number down to where these are the 4 I want to hire.
Yes.
One might show up.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's totally true. I mean, it's just what I think is we're not giving enough. I don't know. I guess there's just not enough value out there for these. I think what people are looking for, they're looking for more than just a job. They're looking for a team. They're looking for culture. You know, I know it's a buzzword. I know it gets tossed around a lot, guys. But look, sure. I mean, I think and we do the same thing as consumers. You know, we're looking for more than just a car. Right. You know, we want an experience. We want a community that gets attached to it. It's like, you know, the fact that you just sold me a car, well, that's just one little part of my expectation. And I expect a lot more than just, you know, like you have to provide me more value than just the product or service. And I'm saying for the dealers, the exact same thing. When we're hiring people, you guys have to provide more value than just a job.
Right.
There's got to be more.
That's right. Here, let me throw a no-brainer out at you. When you hear it out loud, it's like, duh. 51%. We are eliminating. Now, again, and let me back up. Let me make sure I say this properly. Some dealers, not the majority. I don't think it's a majority, but enough dealers where I'm still very concerned about it. Eliminate 51% of the possible talent pool available to him or her to hire from initially. And I'm talking about women. 51% of the population in the United States is female and some change. Only 8 or 9%, let's say 9 per latest NADA, 9 and some change % of salespeople nationwide in the U.S. are female. Yet they outsell their male counterparts by nearly 22 vehicles a year. Yet only under 10% are female. Now with Automax, we garner, and it's last year was a little bit over 200,000 resumes, 57% of which were female.
Wow.
57%.
Wow.
Now, out of that 57%, we were able to get 19% of those people hired. Now, okay, well, that's double, let's say, national average. But it's still, dude, it's
still way too low.
It's 80% male, 20% female. Now, the person that comes into the dealership or calls or does the research or buys the car, the majority of those people are what? They're female.
Well, of course. I mean, it's a huge part of the family purchase. The whole family's involved in it.
So it's like you're playing, I don't know, you're going to play pickup basketball, football, baseball, whatever. You got 20 people standing in a line there, and indiscriminately, you don't know any of those 20 people. You just look at them, make a judgment just based on the way they look, which could relate to color, skin color, it could relate to sex, short, tall, fat, skinny, whatever. And this is real world, right?
Oh yeah, no.
And you could say, you know what? You 10 are excused. You leave. I'll go with those 10. Right? You're going to make a mistake. I guarantee you every single time, because one of those 10 that you blew out is a superstar, maybe 2. Right? And 1 or 2 of the remaining 10, based on your judgment call, are absolute train wrecks.
Well, I think,
you know, so.
I think what it comes down to is it's what we're looking for. All right. Dealerships as an automotive industry, we really need to redefine what we're looking to hire for. What are we actually hiring?
Right.
You know, and then it doesn't matter, like you said, if male or if it's female or different ethnic backgrounds, if they fall into these cores, right? And here's what I think. I don't think a lot of times we have necessarily a good goal and objective when it comes to hiring people. I hear this stupid effing comment all the time about how I just need warm bodies. Like, I just don't understand at what point in time in a dealership's existence that we got to the point that is literally the requirement, all right, for employment is if you actually have a pulse. You know, it's just like, no, it's like, let's really define what those core things are. So what would you say, let's say the 4 or 5 or core, I guess, core behaviors or core traits or core talents that we should be looking for, you know, in a new sales team or technician, you know, today?
Right. Great question. And let me set up my answer by saying this. Sometimes, and again, I'm talking about as vendors, which we are,
yep.
right? Sometimes we tend to beat up on management,
Yeah.
and which is unfortunate, because being a manager at any level in an automobile dealership, especially today, I'm not sure. Well, I suppose you could find a number where you could pay me enough, but it would have to be an enormous amount of money. It wouldn't make any logical sense. It is a hard job.
It is a very, very tough job.
Right. And now for the employee, they might think their manager is a pain in the ass and has all these shortcomings. And we as vendors, I think, too often get flippant in our discussion about managers, and because we forget pretty quick what it's like to run a store or own a store, as you did.
Yep.
But to the manager, that if there's 20 salespeople, that one person is only 1/20th of his or her, life.
For sure.
And so, I mean, they're what they do is critical. But however, in saying that, so we'll get a call at the office. Hey, guys, we need people.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of our questions that we'll ask, well, how many people do you realistically need? How many well-committed, trained salespeople do you need on your showroom? Well, we need 3. And our follow-up question is, well, how'd you arrive at that figure? And I'm serious. We have 3 open desks. All right now, but if you're now just taking it from,
but I don't blame management. I actually blame owners. I really do, because in that particular case, I'm like, where's the owner at?
Right.
It's like why are we, it's like, why are we just half-ass guessing what we actually need? Why are we not actually deep diving into our analytics and seeing, how much time it's taken for these transactions? When are we busier during certain days versus nights? It's like, do you really need 3, or can you get away with 2.5?
That's right. Exactly. It's like, well, thank God you don't have 20 extra desks, or, you only have 1, but or the other one is, well, 3, because that would give us X amount. And that's what we typically run with.
Sure.
Right. Again. So, I urge dealers, managers, HR people, whoever's making the decision on initially how many to hire, just Google law of diminishing return. Just do that. It's an economic law. It's not a theory of when to bring on somebody or add something to an equation. It's an economic law. Mm-hmm. Look it up, learn it. It would take too long to explain it here. It gets a little deep. But it's, in my opinion, it's the analytics that you spoke of.
You have to take the time. It's no more this half-ass in it,
Right.
Like, you really got to deep dive into it, and that's a great way to do it. And it's very structured, by the way, guys. If you get a chance, just go Google it.
Right.
I mean, there's actually some great programs out there that will actually let you input some of the information, and will actually put it out. Right. But no, I mean, that's the point. It's like, we have to have a real proper goal and objective and because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is better serve our customers.
Right.
So then we do it for the customer.
That's right. And then to actually answer your question that you asked me. So things that traits and so forth that I'd be looking for. So I'm gonna write a great ad. It doesn't have to be a Pulitzer Prize winner job description, but it has to have keywords in it and speak to the job seeker. And more importantly, frankly, it's got to be tagged right properly. Just a real quick anecdotal story. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but this is probably 8, 9, 10 months ago. Accidentally, we one person that does most of our job postings, and we're talking about hundreds a month. She put in the job title, the job tags at the bottom, no description whatsoever. And it was like, we're going, oh my God, this is horrible. And you lose a day or 2 of your ad being online. It could be critical. Tuesday is the biggest day of the week where people look for jobs, and we happen to miss a Tuesday with it. So we got an ad that's wrong, full of errors, no job description what's all, and we missed a Tuesday. So it's like, And I said, just leave it alone for a minute. So it was a day and a half in before we noticed the problem. A day and a half in with no job description whatsoever, just a perfect title and perfect tag words at the bottom. We had 18 resumes.
That's what we needed.
Isn't that weird?
But no, actually, that doesn't necessarily surprise me because I do a lot of see these job postings, and I feel like people feel like we have to write out an entire novel.
Yeah,
and that's not how our brains work. It's like,
correct.
We want to see those keywords that resonate with us as an individual for us to take action. Right.
So now I'm going to answer your question. So, and I don't know if this is, there's no order here, Jason, or at least not in my brain, but today, in 2019, I want to be able to hire, if I'm adding someone to my team, and we just did, actually last week, I'm looking for intellect. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for genius. I'm looking for, or that would be okay too, probably. I'm looking for someone that has the ability to intellectually be able to grab concepts that are important today. Speaking to what you talked about, branding. Yes. Not everyone has forget about the experience or the ability. You got to have the initial intellect to be able to understand that concept of what branding to a specific need, someone looking for an automobile or whatever the case might be, service work or whatever, how he or she do they have the intellectual ability to be able to put their head around that? And then do they already have, they might already have branding experience. It might be awesome, but it's still our job as management to develop that talent even further, whether they're starting at ground zero or they've already done it, or you're Mike Davenport, the Chevy dude, and you got 200,000 YouTube subscribers. I mean, it's like, that's branding, man.
Yeah,
it's like there are no car salesman got that going on. I mean, it's like that 200,000 YouTube subscribers selling cars in Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, that's branding.
It's amazing. It's literally amazing what they've done. And you're right. It all starts with comprehension, right? First, as a dealership, we literally have to define what our goals are for that individual, right?
That's right. That's right.
Is it a branding? Do our expectations, if they come in and assist us in the branding efforts? Well, there we go. Their goal and objective. Is our expectation that they are actual team player, that really support the rest of the team? And if that's the case, then we need to make sure that they at least have a comprehension of what team means, a comprehension of what branding means. What other traits or characteristics that you're looking for? I like branding. I like the team.
Right. And and team player is very, 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 very important, which you just mentioned, and we've kind of waltzed around a little bit as well. I want to hire nice people.
Decent human beings.
Right. How long are you going to be with those people during the course of a week?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
It's a very long time.
Right. It's going to be a minimum of 40 some hours. It's probably going to be 50 or mid 50s. Right.
I can possibly see them more than I can see my family in some cases.
Exactly where I was going to go. That's exactly right. And you wouldn't be with your family if you didn't like them. Right. So and they have to be likable, not only to me, because who you like, Jason, and who Craig Lockard likes there could be some difference there, right?
Sure.
But if I'm making that call at the dealership, I have to think about, what? I like her. I think she'd fit well within the team. She's bright. I can see where she's able to brand herself. I've checked her out on Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever, and she's presented herself in such a manner where we can use that towards branding. Mm-hmm. And without question, she's going to play well with others. And she's nice. Now, I've made the mistake numerous times inside stores when I was in retail of hiring someone based on an interview and here's where we get screwed up, that sold me during the interview. And when they showed up, it's like, you must have sent your twin in here to interview, man, because you ain't the guy, right? So, but that's based on, so we don't want to do that, because we're going to hire that strong King Kong, I can close anybody guy, but nobody can stand them. No. Right. And that's good. That's a recipe that's going to flame out, and it's going to be, you go in as the turnover statistics. So where that comes from is a non-scripted, shoot from the hip job interview.
Yep.
Typically, the way I was brought up in the car business, the way I did it for years, until 2 or 3 years before I got out, near the end, through various things, a scripted word for word job interview. Because I would interview towards the person's age. I would interview a 50-year-old person differently from a 25-year-old. Race, sex, previous job, career, educational level. You talk just judging a book by its cover every single time, and then make up some goofy job interview as I'm going along. Or I might have some basic notes that I would go by that I want to make sure I hit on these three. But then the rest of the interview was totally made up on the spot based on the person sitting in front of me. Well, that's a recipe for disaster.
Well, yeah, because how can you actually measure the effectiveness of your hiring process if it's not actually a structured process and it's consistent every single time? You know, exactly. It's like you question yourself, well, gosh, I hired this guy and it worked out perfect. I hired this person and it didn't work out perfect. It's like, be consistent. So I think that's a great tidbit for everybody out there that's hiring, is that in your actual interview process, all right, define what that process is going to be and consistently execute it every single time. That way you can actually measure the effectiveness of the process and adjust accordingly to what you're saying or what information you're asking. Because at the end of the day, this is it's a work in progress. Like, this is not, it should be a science. We need to put time into it. And as long as we get that process, then we'll consistently get better and better people as we work that process.
That's right. And what it also does, it takes away that, a lot of dealerships, they'll have, more than one person's making that decision. The 3-on-1 job interview, 3 or 4 typically guys sitting in a room, and they're all firing all these weird questions at the interviewee. Yep. Well, if every single time, and that's fine if you want to do it that way. I think it's a little intimidating. I don't think it's necessary. But if you have a scripted interview, because then the interview takes precedent, not the person's personality that's making the decision at the dealership. Because let's say you're the GM, I'm a sales manager, we got the used car manager, new car manager in there, right? Mm-hmm. So the end of the interview is done, and it's like, you started off, you're King Kong, you're Godzilla. It's like, so, well, I liked them. What do you guys think? Oh yeah, boss. Yep. I'm with you. Yep. Yeah, Jason, you're right. Yep. Liked them a lot. Well, I'm not going to take you on. It's like, I'm not going to die on that hill. It's like, hey, Jason wants to hire him. I'll hire him. But now, if you have a scripted job interview, it don't matter. You could have a detail kid interview him, write down the answer to his or her question to your questions, and let's make a decision based on what we asked, because now we know what we're looking for.
Yeah, 100%.
And we're going to ask everybody the exact same question, and then let's base our hiring somewhat. Not 100%, but somewhat to way they answered that specific question.
Of course.
And, if 3 people answered them basically in a similar nature and 15 didn't, then I got to go with the 3 that answered closely to what we want. Now, in saying that, we might have to take a shot at some people that we normally wouldn't, and give them an opportunity, because they might change after they're hired to the positive and develop them.
You have to open it up a little bit, right?
I think so.
And actually, I think a really good practice, I actually was talking to a dealership the other day about this. They're like, yeah, but Jason, like, how do I know? It's like, here are my goals. I got goal 1, 2, and 3. Like, I want them to be a team player. I want them to, to be able to understand what social branding is, and I want them to, really follow up. Like that's my goal. Like I want them to comprehend the actual follow up efforts. A lot of people don't comprehend. Like, can you follow up? Yeah, sure, I can follow up. No. Like really comprehend what automotive follow up is, right? These are the three things that I want out of this person. Well, we to find out what those questions are going to be, and I told him, I said, really good way to start doing this, because you need a baseline right out of the gate, is I want you to go through and re-interview your entire staff.
Yeah, that's good.
And see how they respond to those questions.
Yeah.
Right. And the people that that already fall into those three categories, those three goals that you're looking for, right, that's going to give you your baseline as far as who you're trying to hire next. So now when you go to hire someone new, you have a little bit of analytics, a little bit of data to work off of. But to your point, you are going to have to keep an open mind that, that defined process may not be the exact series of questions you need. You're going to have to be open to modifying and adjusting those questions to fit those goals, objectives as you move along.
You're absolutely right. And, I've said this a million times, millions in exaggeration. No, that's a flat out lie. But I've said it more than enough that we live in a swipe left, swipe right society right now. And ghosting is a real thing when you're looking to hire employees. Unemployment rate is what, I don't know, in and around 4%. So out of,
So we've used that term a couple times. Define real quick for everybody out there that may not know what you mean when you say ghosting.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. So you meet someone. I'm single, so I can say this. But so online dating. You'll match up with somebody on Match.com or whatever, and you have a conversation with a woman, and she writes you back, and you don't write back. And it was a good initial conversation. Thought everything was cool, and we let's talk again. Yada yada yada. And for whatever reason, you don't write her back.
Yep.
And then you get an email. Hey, how are you? Great. Enjoyed talking to you. I'd like to talk to you again. You don't respond. And she writes back. Was it something I said? And she writes back. You jerk off. You're just like all the other guys,
But no, that's a perfect analogy, though. It totally works in the way that we're hiring. There is a, excuse me. When we're hiring, there's a lot of similarities to courting and dating that kind of go along with that, right? And there are responsibilities for us to communicate. I think a lot of dealers just assume that once we have the interview, we don't need to do much more communication beyond that point. But no, we have responsibilities as a company to ensure that if someone did just make the grade, then we need to have a process. Again, it all comes down to process, right? There needs to be somebody there that will respond out saying, at this point in time, this just may not work out, or maybe it just wasn't the right quite fit. But I agree with you. I think ghosting is a horrible, horrible practice.
Yeah,
and then it discourages the entire audience out there, the group of people that are looking to get jobs, right?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, it jades them towards the whole process, regardless of industry, because this is not automotive specific. This is happening everywhere. But if you use my figures of this year we'll probably receive 250,000 resumes, but we'll only place 10,000 of those people in car dealerships. Yeah, out of 250,000. Maybe 9,500 in that area out of 250,000, and 50% of those people or more never schedule an interview, and another 50% that do schedule won't show.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
That's another good point. I was thinking, I've always been under the impression that I'm always hiring. I'm never not hiring.
Always be staffing. ABS. Always be staffing.
ABS. I like that. Yeah. But no, I usually will schedule at least once every 2 weeks. All right, a time frame where I will review possible new team members. It's just
good for you.
I kind of think of it like as a professional sports team. I'm just always like, where can I trade up? Here's how many. Look, I only have so many payroll dollars to go around. I'm trying to moneyball this thing and put together the best team humanly possible. If I'm not, constantly, and I'm not saying that I'm always letting people go and bringing new people on, but I am asking that question. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody goes, Jason, I just need like the best team out there. Well, if you're not putting the time and effort in to developing out that team and consistently always hiring, like you said, was it the ABS?
ABS, always be staffing.
Always be staffing. Then you know what? Deal with your B team, deal with your C team, and shut up.
Right. Let me. Is it okay if I plug a affiliate partner of mine that has kind of speaks to this?
Yeah.
So there's a company out there called Automotive HR. It's owned by a gentleman by the name of Stephen Warner. Let's see. He has a partner who's very well known. The only thing I'll tell you is now he's a partner with TrueCar. He's an amazing guy, unbelievable. But they created technology, and they have a couple bigger competitors. Mm-hmm. But they created an own technology. It's a recruiting HR onboarding platform that no one else literally in the world has.
Wow.
Where for depending on the size of the need of the dealership or the group, the most of it costs you is about $500 a month. Mm-hmm. You can literally do ABS 24/7, 365 job postings, organic and sponsored jobs, which no one can do other than the Automotive HR. So for dealers, regardless of size, basically, you should be consistently looking for that top talent that you just spoke to 24/7. The problem is affordability, having someone do it. You can run the whole thing by your phone. It is a zero-brainer. Plus, electronic onboarding. Onboarding's where most of the turnover in our industry takes place.
Huge.
It's like, you're starting a day. Okay, well, here's a stack of papers. Fill those out, and then I'll get back to you. Right? That person, it's in our opinion, again, this is anecdotal, but we've been doing this long enough to know. I mean, we've placed 177,000 people in car dealerships in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico over the last 20 years. So we have some things figured out. And I can say this to your audience with complete confidence, Jason, that 50% of our turnover in the automobile industry, in sales for sure, but most likely every other department, happens within the first few hours of them physically starting at the dealership, because how badly they're onboarded or the lack of proper onboarding. Now they might hang around and grab a couple paychecks for a while, but when they get home that night, what's the first thing someone's going to say to them about their first day on the job?
How did it go?
How'd it go? It sucked. We better keep my resume online.
Yep.
Because I'm going to stay for a while, grab some checks. We need the money, but this place is messed up.
No. And it goes back to, if we don't have those processes in place, we don't have those training elements, those development elements, those coaching elements, those team building elements, then, again, you got to understand that applicants out there are looking for more value than just the job.
Yes.
They want to see that there is, there's opportunity to grow, not just professionally, but personally as well. It's like we need to be providing more value. The fact that people come on and it's like, here's the keys, there's the brochures, the cars are over there. Have a nice day. Here's your phone and computer.
Right.
Someone's going to come by in the next 2 weeks and talk to you how to use your computer. And someone's going to come by, and spend an hour with you, teach you how to answer the phone. Like it's no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but and again, we see these things changing. Our recruiter trainers are out in the field when we have national conference calls on a weekly basis, and it's we talk about trends and what's happening, and what's changing, and what needs to be fixed, what best practices, quote unquote, and we do see change, positive change,
sure,
that's happening, but we again, it's kind of our responsibility and other vendors, in my opinion, to I have a quote, and it's very important to me, and I make it important to all our team members. It goes like this: if we do what we do better than anyone else does it, someone will find a way to pay us to do it. So
it's very true. 100%. Right. Ain't that
so
the truth?
It allows us to not chase dollars, but to chase excellence.
Yes.
So if we're on top,
I like that. Chase excellence.
So, you bet. So if we're on top of our game and we're doing or attempting, we're far from perfect, but if we attempt to do everything right, we'll ultimately get paid. A lot of vendors just chase money and they put a bunch of garbage into the automobile industry, in my opinion, in terms of retail. So that's got to stop for sure. And we have to recognize, it's our responsibility to recognize actual trends and partner with dealers to come up with solutions, processes, which, I mean, how many times have we used that word? 20?
It seems to be the buzzword of today. In fact, actually, we actually count up how many times we actually use the word process. There's a job for you, Nathan. He's like, really?
Awesome.
But no, and in fact, actually, I think that's a wonderful spot for us to kind of stop it here. I know that we can jam for hours, and I look forward to coming out and doing a podcast with you. And we probably will do a 3.5 hour, 4.5 hour long.
I'm good, man. It's all right with me.
As long as we do over some chicken wings and beer, I'm down to go.
That's right.
but no, I mean, look, the takeaways here have been phenomenal, right? For everyone out there that's in charge of putting together, those job postings. I think Craig had some amazing tips. Make sure your subject lines are very keyword specific. Don't use in your descriptions automotive language. Really define out what your goals and objectives are in that individual. Do you want them to be able to respond to internet leads? Is it a branding play? Is it a team effort play? Is it, the comprehensive around follow-up? I mean, really comprehend follow-up. Define what those are out, and then structure your interview process. Really structure your interview process so you stay consistent every single time, so you can develop and continue to build off that process and hire better people. We got so many golden nuggets in here. It's just like this is great stuff. This is great stuff.
Good.
But for people that would like to maybe extend this conversation with you, what's the best way for people to connect with you, Craig?
Okay, well, it's not hard. We're pretty. You can Google Automax, or better yet, all over. I'm on Facebook all the time. Craig Lockard, Automax Recruiting and Training.com, Automax AUTOMAX Recruiting and Training.com. Give you a lot of information. Tons of connections on LinkedIn, so you can look me up on LinkedIn or look up the company on LinkedIn, Twitter. Our Facebook fan page is Automax Recruiting. And we just, April 29th is going to be our first podcast, The Max Show.
That's awesome.
Right. Top automotive, everything automotive and top performers and more. So,
and I'm looking forward to being a part of that. I think it's going to be really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll send you out a booking form at the end of the week and you pick a date, man.
Awesome.
But it's easy to find me and just reach out and, look, you got a question, call me, 800-878-5090.
And guys, really take Craig up on that. Craig is a very open, easy to communicate guy. I mean, we've DM'd each other so many times and our responses are just back and forth. I mean, you're a very, very approachable person for as busy as you are. And I really appreciate about you. And then I try to do the same thing myself.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Craig, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on today. This has just been a wealth of information. Super excited to get this edited and out there.
Great. Awesome,
Thanks.
dude.
All right. You have a good one.
All right. You too. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks.